Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Here we are with Preacher Leela. And
Right?
what?
That would be me, right?
That would be you, yes. And there's Tequila beside her. And we're continuing with the discussion of the Ishupanishad in the description by Swami Rama called Book of Wisdom. And there is Urban. Hi, Urban. Urban is with us. Hey, Tequila. So you ready? You ready to go, Preacher? We were on number 1. You want to do this paragraph?
I think we should.
All right.
Because there are 2 kinds of instructions in our Vedas and Upanishads, prescriptions and prohibitions. Sounds like do's and do nots.
Yeah.
The prescriptions should be made our ideals. This is our ideal. We may not meet it in the beginning, but we're working toward it. This is our ideal.
Yeah, there you go.
It gradually becomes a great vow.
We should conduct our practical lives in observance of the prohibitions. When we infuse our lives with ideals by practice, we can understand and appreciate both types of instructions. We find both recommendations and prohibitions in the 2 mantras of the first part of the Upanishad. Let us now review them. So in case we forgot from last week, we're going to go through it again.
Yeah, well, we didn't go through them. We sort of stopped. I think, didn't we?
But it says we're reviewing, so it's sort of what we were doing last week.
Yeah, I see. You're right. You're absolutely right. It's a review of what we did.
He told us what he was going to say, and then he told us, and now he's telling us again.
There you go. Okay.
See, all God is all pervasive throughout the universe. That means everywhere.
Everywhere.
No exceptions.
No exceptions.
Number 2, do not develop attachment to the objects of pleasure in the world. Treat these objects only as a means for higher use.
There you go.
We respect them, we use them, but we're not attached to them.
They're not mine. Where'd you go?
I'm right here. I was waiting for the next page.
I see. Okay, I thought you were still talking, so I didn't.
Oh, no. I shut up for a minute. It's rare, but I did. Number 3, do not covet. Let there be no greed. Number 4, see wife, wealth, and property as all belonging to God. That would mean husband too.
Yeah.
And kids.
And kids.
And dogs.
And dogs.
Use them as a means for realization of God. Sounds like an opportunity for loving service.
Yeah.
Number 5, always perform your duties. Duty! Ever doing so with an attitude of disinterestedness. Tongue twister, isn't it? Disinterestedness. That is, without desire for personal reward. It's okay if I'm not recognized for this. I'm just going to do it anyway because it needs to be done. Who cares if anybody knows about it?
There you go.
If a man wishes to live 100 years, he should live thus, performing duties and going toward the supreme goal. Number 6, always think, speak, and act according to the dictates of conscience and the call of the higher self. That sounds like something we must discover for ourselves through sadhana, huh?
Yeah.
Clarifying that booty. Do not slay your higher self by selfishness is number 7. Selfishness, sensuality, and lack of sadhana. Don't quit. Otherwise, you will descend to lower states here and hereafter. That would mean more forgetting, more avidya. Nah, I don't want that.
Nah.
So these recommendations and prohibitions are all related to sadhana. Life is sadhana. See, it includes duties and everything. Nothing is excluded. So there. Now, the first teaching is see God as all-pervasive throughout the universe. The main purpose of sadhana is to bring man to love God and fill his heart with divine love. Love. True love. Aww. Filling life to overflowing with divine thoughts and feelings is true sadhana. Oh, I want to say that again. Filling life to overflowing with divine thoughts and feelings is true sadhana.
There you go.
Who cares about them storms and fires that happen when the samskaras are going crazy inside? It doesn't matter. Because I'm already filled to overflowing with divine thoughts and feelings sort of most of the time.
There you go.
And when I'm not, so what? I can just do it again. I just keep doing it. And it just keeps happening. And it just gets filled up with overflowing with divine thoughts and feelings sometimes.
There you go.
Sometimes it still goes dry, but that's never permanent. There's never a permanent drying up to this well of divine love. It just don't happen. You know, we might lose our bucket, not be able to dip into it, but then we have to fashion a new bucket. That's called doing sadhana. The way to do this is to consider God not as a power in disguise, but as an all-pervading, omnipresent, that means everywhere all the time, supreme power. Just as everything exists in space, a space which underlies everything else, so similarly, God is inherent in all of us. That means all y'all and me too. And in all the universe. There is no place where God is not. Mm-hmm. You didn't see it, but Kayla just did this. There is no place where God is not.
You want me to turn? I didn't see. Tequila did what?
She did this. When I said there is no place where God is not, I said it's in all y'all, me and you, and I turned around and pointed at Tequila, and she went like this.
There you go. You got it, Tequila.
Tequila got her own circle chart in her room today.
There you go.
She got her very own circle chart hanging on the wall.
Now, let's see. Wait a minute. We should let people say hello here. There's Urban. We said hello to Urban. And Anjin is here. Hello, Anjin.
Hello, Anjin.
Nicholas. Thank you.
Hi, Nicholas.
Nicholas with an Ola. And there's Mark Beresford. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Sounds like a grade in school, a high mark.
Yeah, very good grade.
R.
There is a connection between the concept of God and the two basic formulas to be kept in mind for the practice of the sadhaka. Number one should not commit immoral acts. And we can refer to what we had just read a little while ago about our conscience. Clarify that buddhi, and we wouldn't commit immoral acts. It wouldn't be against our conscience.
Yeah.
And number two, the heart should be loving in the highest degree. Oh my gosh, now that just spells it out what I want, doesn't it?
There you go.
The big what I want. Man's evil actions are done at that time and place where it is supposed God is not present. Aha, fooled you. It just said God is everywhere all the time. And somewhere along the line, we think God isn't present somewhere. Oh, isn't that funny? A believer in an omnipresent God can have no room for committing sin because he cannot get seclusion anywhere. You cannot hide. How can you hide from your own capital S self?
Good luck.
Think about that. Thus, man is saved from evil action because of his belief in an all-pervading God. Moreover, by acknowledging the existence of God everywhere, man can never have any jealousy or hatred for anyone, because then you'd be jealous or hating God, which is everywhere and in you too. So what's there to be jealous of? There would have to be two, and there's only one. So there.
Uh-huh.
Figure it out.
I just have a lot of fun thinking this way, and I'm thinking out loud a little for y'all.
Good.
Very nice.
Because that's generally sort of a little tiny bit of what it's like inside the preacher's head sometimes.
There you go.
If a seeker during his period of sadhana avoids evil behavior, he will automatically acquire purity. You don't have to do nothing to acquire purity. You don't have to go out and get it. On account of his sinless attitude and feeling of love, there remains no trace of hard-heartedness in a sadhaka. That's sweet.
Yeah.
Such a generous and charitable man, such a generous and charitable person, while undoubtedly strict in regulating his own life, is very liberal toward others and loves all. I think I could do more of that. The second teaching of the first three mantras is do not develop attachment to the objects or pleasures in the world. Treat these objects only as a means for higher use. Noteworthy here for the path of sadhana is that the Ishopanishad defines piety on the basis of love and desirelessness, and sin on the basis of jealousy and selfishness. Think about that for a minute. Upanishadic scriptures say that man may perform all lawful actions, but only in the spirit of detachment. He may marry and produce children, acquire strength, and serve his nation and society. He could even be a politician. Think about that. All this is proper. But in addition to the acquirement and enjoyment of these things, he should not forget that all these things belong to God, and he is only given their use for sadhana, so we better darn well take care of it and let go of it when it's time. The root cause of all the miseries in the world is attachment and selfish affection. Think about that. It really makes it simple, doesn't it? It simplifies everything. It all boils down to that, and if you look at it, you'll find that this is true. Grief consists of being separated from or deprived from our objects of pleasure. But when a person gives up these objects of his own accord, or gives up attachment to them, which is not giving up the objects, but the attachment to the object, there is no sorrow, but only happiness and a feeling of freedom.
Free.
Dumb.
No.
During one's period of exploration and experimentation, the production and preservation of all the objects of pleasure is unavoidable, but only so long as their use is necessary. The cashier of a bank is obliged to protect the property of the bank only so long as he is inside the bank. He leaves the bank for home without moaning for the things of the bank. Oh, the money in the vault. Oh. No. and without personal attachment to them. I'll bet he's glad to leave them behind. What a headache. But if he ties himself to those things by personal attachment and refuses to move from there, I think I'm just going to sit in the safe. No. But his wife would have cooked him a nice dinner or something. Go home, dude. He would have to suffer anxieties and punishment for it. They'd think he was robbing, and then he'd end up in jail. It'd be an interesting story. Anyway, see how the mind goes off on a tangent? How bad it is to develop attachment for what we cannot ultimately cling to. If there was anything to actually cling to, there would be two, and there's only one, so what is there to cling to? Hey! Man clings to things in selfish attachment, but there comes a day when everything is snatched away. The so-called pangs of death are what one suffers, who runs after worldly enjoyments, and who, deeply attached to the objects of the world, does not want to relinquish his possessions. Death, in fact, is a pleasant thing. That's kind of an odd thing to hear, isn't it? But those who are ignorant of its secret and the true art of life have to suffer acute pain on account of attachment. It is not death, but attachment that causes pain. The thought of death is more painful than death itself. But for a man who transforms objects of pleasure into his means of spiritual practice, who enjoys them feeling that he only has the right to use them for a while, and who, after proper use, gives them up willingly in his own lifetime, what does there remain for death to snatch away? Nothing. Such men are fearless and quit the world in peace and joy. It's time to go. I'm going to go. No problem. While no one would believe death is pleasant instead of painful, it is indeed a truth and has been experienced by great men. Death is the world's great fear because no one wants to think this matter through. Death is so dreaded that man does not even want to recognize its reality. Fear of death is customary but completely unnecessary. It is based on misconceptions. Why shouldn't death be as natural as birth? In fact, there are known to yoga science symptoms of approaching death that appear on the body months beforehand. Uh-oh. Just as there are indications of the hour of birth by movements of the fetus in the womb. Talk to some midwives and birth doulas. They can sometimes tell these things.
Mm-hmm.
They see it. We don't often see this with birth anymore either, but we used to see it more. Generally, death is regarded as a most painful occasion. If death seems a matter of sorrow, separation, and pain, it is because of our selfish attachment. If man were never to die, he would be so much tightened with the chains of attachment that liberation would be impossible. Think about if we never got deep sleep state. If we just went through and we had waking and dream state, but we never had that deep rest in deep sleep. Our waking state and our dreaming state wouldn't be so good anymore. We've got to have that rest.
Very nice, Leela.
And so I can see where that would be true. It would just, the attachment would accumulate, and the immersion in the dream world, in the dream and waking state, it would just be total immersion.
Hello,
And we
Govinda.
get to take a break.
Yeah.
Death is inevitable. It's going to happen to all of us. Hi, Gurvinder. It's going to happen to me and Gurvinder. But death is inevitable and in itself pleasant. Well, thanks, Mark. Good to see you too. Or at least your profile picture in the cool kayak. That's pretty neat.
Yeah,
So death is inevitable and in itself pleasant. That's why it occurs. Oh, Taria says hi to Kayla. See? That's why it occurs. It's like deep sleep between lives, between incarnations. Birth and death are necessary for every life. These cannot cease unless man is perfectly liberated. Hi, John. Perfectly liberated.
And
It's kind of neat sometimes when these things appear and what I happen to be saying, Not developing attachments to objects of pleasure and the fruits of action eliminates the torture of death and makes a man what? Free
free.
Free.
and fearless in life. Such a sadhaka fearlessly singing the song of deliverance reaches his goal. And right now, I wish I had a really good gospel song about deliverance. That'd be kind of cool, huh? Free. I'm ready to put on my long white robe. Anyway, the third teaching is do not covet. Let there be no greed. Often seen on the path of sadhana, as in ordinary life, is the tendency, when something obstructs our path, to start blaming fate, providence, and God. Blame it all on God. When a trifle makes us grieved, we may turn our face against the right path. We do not try to understand that the cause of restlessness is most frequently our own greedy nature. Free! How do we say that? Boy, animal.
Means hi, everyone.
We do not try to understand that the cause of restlessness is most frequently our own greedy nature. Think about that this Christmas. You're awesome, Kayla. This is why the sadhaka should remain aloof from greed and acquisitiveness. That's a big word, acquisitiveness. That means I want it. I see it in the paper and I want it. I see it on TV and I want it. There is uneasiness in one's heart and in the practical world due to greediness. Greed and selfishness are holding back the progress of all mankind. Ain't that the truth, Swami Rama? You really said it. The fourth teaching of the first three mantras of the Ishopanishad is see wife, wealth, and property as all belonging to God. Or actually, to be the current modern would be to see your partner, wealth, and property all as belonging to God. Use them as means for realization of God. Great unhappiness flows from the attempt to protect our wealth, rights, property, and to seize that of others. Are you claiming ownership of me, Tequila? She grabbed my hand here, and she's pulling me over. She's claiming ownership.
Where's the puppy?
Use me as a means for realization of God, Tequila. The sadhaka should keep only so much in his possession as is needed for this life's journey toward the supreme goal. I think you really need that rollator.
Yeah.
Yeah, she really actually has a good desire for Christmas. She wants a rolling walker that's on 4 wheels and has a seat on it so she can sit down.
There you go.
That way she can go on long walks and take little rests and have a way to keep her balance. And they're called a rollator. Kind of cool name. So that's something that's needed for this life's journey toward the supreme goal. If a traveler desires to undertake a journey to the Himalayas, carrying the property of his neighbors and society with him, his journey would be impossible or painful in the extreme. Can you imagine carrying all that stuff?
Yeah.
It is very hard to carry such a heavy load. In the journey of life, people do not need so much material as is now common to collect. In the race for material possessions, modern man has made himself and others extremely happy. Man, his boat's bigger than mine. I need a bigger boat.
Made the others extremely unhappy.
Yep.
You said happy.
Oh, I thought I said unhappy. I meant unhappy, extremely unhappy. Because somebody's always going to have a bigger boat.
There you go.
Moreover, once obtained, material possessions may exact a heavy cost. Boats do. I once heard it said that a boat is just a hole to throw money into. Bottomless pit. Terms of attachment and its consequences. So there you go. The fifth teaching is always perform your duties, ever doing so with an attitude of disinterestedness, that is, without desire for personal reward, meaning we're not disinterested in doing the duties, we are disinterested in being recognized for them. Look at how much hard work I do washing all your clothes, Tequila. You should appreciate that. That's what I'm not supposed to do. You got it. You're a good guru. If a man wishes to live 100 years, he should but live thus, performing duties and always going toward the supreme goal. So I'll sneak and do the laundry when you're not looking, and I won't tell anybody. This mantra throws a challenge to seekers on all the ways, for it asserts that disinterested action is a pure, easy, and permitted path, which may be, and ought to be, followed by all. While each sadhaka seeks the supreme goal along some path or others, all can and should follow this way with respect to their actions. This way can be divided into two parts for the sake of practice. One should constantly do his duty. What could be excluded? It's my duty to get rest and good sleep and good rest. That's part of our duty too. You know, it's part of our duty to take care of our body so we can do our other duties. So one should constantly doing his duty. Think about it that way, disinterestedly. Number two, yet one should not become lost in actions or duties, but perform them so as not to be enmeshed in them or attached to their fruits. I knew there was a catch to it somewhere.
There it is.
There it is. Perform them so as not to be enmeshed in them or identified with them. How often do I identify with what I'm doing? Oh God, I'm going to become a dog. No, okay. Where is she anyway? Oh, there she is. She's peeking up over there, hiding in the bed. By following this way, one can, while still engaged in action, escape action's binding consequences that follow the law of karma. Escape the bondage. In order to do this, and find a place where there is no need of any external thing at all, some become sannyasins, which means they renounce these actions which are performed for the fulfillment of desires. Sannyasins renounce wife, son, wealth, and all other things we call our own. Yet duties need to be performed to eradicate the ego and other faults. If we maintain an attitude of non-attachment to those actions performed for the gratification of desires, we may achieve the same success and peace of mind as a sannyasi gets by completely renouncing those gratifying actions. The same. To enjoy objects without binding oneself to them is the key to success in life's journey to the supreme goal and the basic formula for social and religious involvement. Wouldn't that be cool if there was more of us doing that? Good thing we got all kinds of enrollees in those Udemy courses. Gives me hope. The sixth teaching of the first part of the Ishopanishad is always. Always. That means all the time without exception, doesn't it? Think, speak, and act according to the dictates of conscience and call of the higher self, even if somebody's poking their finger into your ear. The voice of conscience is the voice of the higher self. I actually hear that sometimes, more often than I think. But that's true for all y'all too. Actions performed against conscience amount to self-murder. Such murder of the self or actions against conscience are forbidden. Because that would really hurt. It's not death that really hurts. It's this stuff that really hurts. Because it creates suffering. A lot. The soul, in its very nature, is pure, holy, and untainted by any flaw or impurity. Though he knows it to be wrong, man acts against conscience due to his lack of self-discipline. Such behavior is self-delusion, for in this manner no one can improve his moral and spiritual character and attain the goal of life. Spiritual progress is only possible through self-discipline and sadhana. Simple, but not easy. Conscience is the mainspring of character formation. Without character, man cannot get entry into the spiritual world. The Upanishads distinguish right from wrong actions much before they are performed, because these actions do exist in subtle forms in our mind before their actual performance. This is a law. We think about it somehow first. Even if it's a thought not in words, just an impulse. Thus we, and especially the sadhaka, should not only act and speak, but also think according to the dictates of conscience. Hence we have these really cool daily internal dialogues and daily goals.
Good idea.
That helps us to figure all this out and experience it and get those grooves going. Conscious new deciding to create new conscious grooves of discipline. That's cool. The seventh teaching is do not slay your higher self by selfishness, sensuality, and lack of sadhana. Otherwise you will descend to lower states here and hereafter. Don't give up. Don't quit. Just keep going. According to the third mantra of the first part of the Ishopanishad, they are demons who perform actions in an immoral, selfish, and egotistical manner and have deep attachment to the enjoyment of the senses. By subduing their soul and suppressing the voice of conscience, they bring about their own downfall and find peace neither here in this world nor hereafter in other worlds. Although the voice of their conscience repeatedly induces them to the path of truth, they have no intent to form noble habits. Finally, dying without any conscious effort for improvement, these persons are reborn in categories of life lower than human beings. Persons identifying their self with the body and passing their lives in seeking gratification for their physical urges do not act in obedience to the wisdom of the capital S self due to lack of discrimination and right practice. Sadhaka should work with his whole awareness only in agreement with his conscience, which is an inspiration of the real self. The easiest way is never to do a thing if it does not get the approval of your conscience. It does not mean the approval of your daddy or your mommy. It means the approval of your conscience. Following conscience, the sadhaka will avoid the miseries attendant upon immorality, selfishness, egoism, and attachment to the senses. He will be delivered from the pangs of death and reborn in the advanced world of human beings to carry forward his incomplete work, to make spiritual progress, to further develop his divine qualities, and to realize the bliss of the self. There's hope. Otherwise leads to a lower birth, which means downfall and going backwards on life's journey to the supreme goal. Don't want to do that.
No. There we go, preacher. That's the end of that chapter. You want to pause here and start the next cliffhanger next time?
We could do that.
All righty. You want to see the cliffhanger?
Of course. We got a little time left. Let's see the cliffhanger.
All righty. Give me a moment here. A moment is coming. All right. Give me a moment. It's coming here. Here we go. There is the cliffhanger. Can you see it?
The self is one and unmoving, swifter than the mind. The devas, the senses, cannot overtake it as it darts before them. Remaining motionless, it passes the running ones. Through it, the wind carries the clouds. Can you imagine something that is faster than thought and it doesn't move?
Zoom. Zip. That's pretty quick. Well, and this is the second pada.
This is really good, juicy stuff, isn't it?
To be continued, huh? And one more little gem there says, where did it go?
It moves and it moves
and moves not.
Far away it is near.
It is near.
Within all.
It is yet outside. Pretty cool stuff, huh?
Well, it means there's no escape.
To be continued.
There's no escape.
No place to hide. So, okay. Oh, Raj says, thank you, folks. Nice hanging out with all of you on a Sunday evening and a Sunday afternoon.
It's nice hanging out with you too, Raj, and everyone, and all y'all.
Anjan says, faster than a speeding concept. It sounds like Superman. Super Shakti, huh? Lovely, says Rosalind.
Faster than a speeding concept.
And Raj says simply, Om. Gurvinder says, nice job, preacher. Thanks. Bye to Kayla. Whoops, I just
Bye, Gurvinder.
There it is. And Tusharan has a whole bunch of little things there. I can't quite read them. There's so many of them.
There's a smiley, I think applause, and a namaste, and hearts.
A whole collection of goodies. Thank you for playing, all.
Thank you.
How about this for the last word, Preacher Leela? What do you think? Is that a good last word?
That's a good one. That's my favorite one.
Om.
What else is there?
What else is there? Well, now that you mention it, there is all the derivatives of Om. So thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you all for playing. These are, what are these? These are little birds?
Hummingbirds.
Hummingbird hand waves. Hummingbird. Okie dokie, all. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Dewey, Dewey.
Dewey, Dewey, says Mom.
Thank you, Leela.
Thank you, Leela.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you, Swamiji.
Cheese.